Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Cody and I'm the leader of the Spiritual Healing and Expansion Tribe on Facebook. Go check that out if you're on Facebook. I would love to have you there. And today's video, we are talking about addiction. Now, addiction is something that a lot of people deal with, and a lot of people don't even realize that they're dealing with an addiction because of the meaning that they attach to addiction, right? So, in today's video, I'm going to talk all about that, and if you stay with me until the end of the video, I'm going to share some key points on how to break an addiction, okay? So, what is an addiction? Basically, an addiction is a dependency on a substance, a thing, or an activity. It doesn't always have to be a substance, but it can be a substance. Thoughts and emotions, for example, can become an addiction for people. People, feelings, money, alcohol, cigarettes, substances in general. Food is a big one. And just you could have an addiction to anything, sports, anything. So anything can be an addiction, right? But what is the person trying to accomplish when they are addicted to something? Well, it's a form of escaping. Every time that we are addicted to something, and it doesn't matter what it is, we are trying to escape a feeling that is bad, and we're trying to move towards something that makes us feel better. Every single time. It's also used as a numbing. So, for example, sometimes people resort to food, and they resort to comfort food, which is the food that helps numb them out, to make them feel comfortable so that they don't have to maybe feel their emotions so intensely. And the third reason is that they're trying to fill a void. So a lot of the time when we are addicted to something, it falls into those three categories: escaping, numbing, or trying to fill a void for some reason. Now, there are some very common characteristics with people that have formed addictions. And there's a lot of them, but I'm just going to go over a few of them today, just so that we can cover the most common ones. And I put together a little collection. So growing up in a stressful environment is usually one huge trigger to form an addiction later on in life. Stress when you're a child is hard to deal with. And so what happens is that you kind of split off, you know, your needs. You don't fulfill your needs your needs were not being fulfilled as a child because you were living in a stressful environment. So you created a coping mechanism. That coping mechanism followed you into adulthood. Now, it probably had its significance then, but it's no longer serving us now. So that is a huge thing that usually is a factor when it comes to addiction. Invalidation. When you're a child, if you were invalidated a lot when you were little, it taught you not to trust yourself, or that every decision that you made was wrong. So you grew up thinking that what you were doing is not valid. You might even have issues with self-identity and even knowing what it is that you want. So there's a void that gets created there. And what happens is when we have a void, we go and try to fill that void, right? If you felt lonely or ignored as a child, this is another common thing with people that deal with addictions, okay? And maybe you're searching for acceptance and you're longing to be seen or heard. You know, maybe you grew up where children were only to be seen, not heard. Or maybe you would try to voice your opinions when you were a child, only to be shunned to the side. It creates a void. You disconnect from your needs, and this follows you into adulthood. What ends up happening is that you create habits as a child. You create habits for survival. And a habit is basically a thought emotion, and behavior that is frequent and repetitive. So the habits that we form at a very young age turn into our programming, right? It's the unconscious program though, because the more that when we are conscious, the more that we're conscious of what's going on in our lives on a day-to-day basis, what we find is that those programs can be rewrote. The only time that we run off of an unconscious program is when we are relying on our subconscious mind to take the wheel. The more that we can tune in and pay attention to these things, that's when we start to break these patterns and these habits and addictions, ultimately addictions. So, as promised, I was going to give you guys some key points as to how to break these addictions. And the very first thing that I highly recommend is to heal the emotional trauma that is correlated with the need to escape or to fill that void. So there's always an underlying trauma that's linked to the reason for this need. The second way is to meet your needs. When you meet your own needs in a healthier way, by being conscious of what you're doing, you start to reverse the process because you create new habits. The more that you create new habits, the more that you are conscious of what you are doing, the less and less and less you will find yourself addicted to anything. See, I was addicted to alcohol for 8+ years. I drank every single day. I was trying to fill voids. I was trying to escape my immediate environment. I was trying to numb out anything that I felt because what I was feeling was never good. It was very painful. So the more that we can be conscious of the reason why we're using or addicted to something in the first place, we start to reprogram by doing different things, by creating new habits, right? But it's not that easy sometimes. You have to remind yourself or train yourself how to sit with your feelings. We are so disconnected on my healing journey from addiction and from traumas. I found that I didn't even know what I was feeling most of the time. I was so desensitized to how I felt inside that no wonder I was looking for something on the outside. You know, alcohol was something that made me feel alive, you know? So, learn how to sit with your feelings. So important. The more that you can learn to sit with your feelings, and when I say feelings, I'm not talking about the emotions. I'm talking about the sensations. You know, this one was hard for me because when I quit smoking cigarettes, I smoked cigarettes for 15 years. And while I was trying to quit that, what happened was I realized the way that I quit smoking was to live consciously as often as possible. Every single time I had that craving come up to go smoke a cigarette, I would have to ask myself, what are you trying to escape? What doesn't feel good right now that you are trying to get away from? Or what void are you trying to fill? What can we do instead? It took a lot of that repetition, you know, because a habit is hard to break. So a habit is formed by repetition of thoughts, behaviors, and actions. So I had to, quite literally, change my thoughts, behaviors, and actions in the moment repetitively. So once you can figure out the voids and the traumas that are attached to things, then it's time to start taking action. Habits do not get broken unless you take action. We can't just sit there and hope that things will change. We have to take action. Now, this one's special. So if you're dealing with a food addiction, yes, it's probably linked to an emotional thing, a void, or any of that I just covered. But something that can really help is to do a physical detox. And the reason for that is because a lot of the times that we have addictions to sugar, bread, and pasta, those types of foods that are basically long chains of sugar, what's going on is that we have parasites inside of us, microbials, which are microscopic parasites, and sometimes they're general, they're pretty large. You can have worms, you know, that are making you have cravings that you wouldn't normally have. So if you're dealing with a food addiction, then I would definitely recommend doing a physical detox, and I can help you with that as well. So if this video was helpful for you, I would love if you would like and comment down below and subscribe to this channel. I hope that everything made perfect sense for your situation and that you can take action to overcome these habits and addictions. Thank you.